I'll take him off
We'll
at
see
some
how
point.
it goes. Oh, even if anybody even comes and watches, there's probably a bunch of people out taking their kids trick or treating and whatnot, especially over there on the West Coast. I'm sure
No,
you already did. You take your girls out tonight?
oh yeah. Well, I mean, and that ends quick. It's only like 2 hours around here, so it's like 5:30 to 7:30. So depending on where the audience is, it could be in and out quick.
Yeah. Um,
And we
what?
are live.
So, what'd you think about the trades today?
I mean, it was uneventful. I mean, there were a couple of decent trades, obviously, but I fully expected there to be a little bit more movement. I was expecting a Carolina receiver to get traded or a Denver receiver to get traded. I mean, I like that DPJ went to Detroit because my Lions, after watching Monday Night Football, JMO is definitely not ready, and it's important to have a guy like DPJ who has been productive. I mean, his quarterback play hasn't been great since he got there. I mean, Deshaun Watson's been the best quarterback, and he's only been on the field with him for a short amount of time. But, the IDP trades I think are interesting. Montez Sweat, I think, is a fun addition to your team. It was super surprising. Like, that's a team that I think is more than an edge rusher away from being relevant. So it's like, why would you make that move? Especially then when you see that San Fran only spends a third to get a guy who I think is better than Montez Sweat. It was a bit mind-boggling, definitely eye-popping, if you will. But what do you think about it?
Well, in regards to Chase Young and Montez Sweat, I think there's two different ways to look at it, right? Montez Sweat has played every game in 4 of his 5 years, missed a couple games in another one, and has consistently been there for the Washington Commanders. Actually, he's been with the Washington 3 different names throughout his career. 5 years, his teams have had 3 different names.
Right.
But he's a consistent producer that's you haven't seen a bunch of injuries from, which is the difference with him and Chase Young. I don't think anybody would question the fact that Chase Young's got a higher ceiling, but if you're in a rebuild and you don't think you can find an edge rusher in round 2, you can do a lot worse than Montez Sweat. Now, the key is getting him signed to a long-term deal. If they don't franchise him next year, then they would get a 3rd-round compensatory pick, and they would lose a round on their pick. So it's not nearly as bad as trading a second for Chase Claypool last year, because you had no protection on that, and at the same time, it gives you a lot more flexibility in the first round, right? Because if you do go quarterback, then you lose one of the opportunities to get that edge rusher. And then you got to decide, if you're in a spot for Marvin Harrison, is he the guy? If you're in a spot for Fashanu or Joe Alt, do you take the left tackle? And you've still got decisions to make. So if they can get him in now and get him signed to a 4-year deal, then I think it's worth it if he performs. And I do think that he could perform. And, there wasn't a lot of big moves. It does look funky when you see the second versus the third, but when you consider that one guy has missed 23 games over the past 3 seasons and the other guy's basically been healthy for his entire 5-year career, there's probably added value to that, with the higher floor, I think, than what Chase has got.
Well, and I think the thing that, and I could be wrong on it, but I think this tells you that Fields is still their guy moving forward. Like they're trying to build this team up, so it's like, okay, next year you look at the best tackle or wide receiver or whatever, but it seems like a move like this makes me think they're trying to build around what they've got. I could be wrong there, but I mean, at least trying to read the tea leaves, which is a good thing because I like Justin Fields. I think he brings a really nice dynamic opportunity to this team. And, I hope they do that. I hope that they build around this. I don't know if I love the coaching staff that's there, but it's definitely one of those moves where I'm like, okay, well, maybe if they're trying to build around what they've been doing, because they got young offensive linemen, injuries obviously have sucked for them, but, they've got some pieces there. And it's like, well, maybe they are going to try to build with what they've got. And I think that should be exciting for fantasy owners.
Yeah, sadly, I don't think that necessarily. I would love Fields to stay, but I don't know that this is definitely in regards to him. still being there and then building around him, I think either way, they're going to have to build it up no matter what. And you're going to need a defensive end no matter what you do, whether it's a rookie or Justin Fields coming back in. Obviously, I hope it's still Fields, but, we don't know that yet. Hopefully he'll be back, not this week, but the next, and we'll see how he finishes out the season. Nico Collins, Downs, Deontay Johnson, and Drake London. We need to pick 2 for full PPR.
I mean, Deontay is a critical piece. I mean, look at this week. 8 catches, 84 yards. I mean, that's huge. So Deontay definitely. And
I know he left that game at one point. Did he come back? Is he good?
Let me look.
I'm looking as well.
You look too.
So he went to the medical tent, but I'm not seeing anything recently that updates.
No, just said he's a strong start as long as he's healthy. Yeah, I mean today. I'm starting him today if. But I would keep an eye out. He's definitely one of my 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the first one that I pick if he's healthy, if he's in. So we'll have to keep an eye on that the rest of the week and see how he does. He may have even came back into the game. There's nothing that I can find that's sooner than 2 days ago. Yeah. So who do you got second here?
Oh, I mean, it probably should be Drake London with Tyler Heineke there. He's probably.
That's what I was looking right now. Is if Ritter, the update on Ritter, and if there was any idea on who was starting, because I do agree if it's Heineke, then it's London. I don't know that it's London if it's Desmond Ritter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough thing. I kind of feel like leaning Josh Downs just because we keep seeing such a significant amount of catches. I mean, 7, 5, 5, 6, plus he's getting, anywhere from 21 to 125 yards. It's like, gosh, maybe he's kind of that ceiling play, so maybe it's DJ and Downs. I mean, but I like Nico, but he's not getting a ton of catches. He's just consistent, like 4 to 6 catches a game, and 50 to 100 yards. So,
well, Stroud's been struggling lately, and I think Nico and Stroud go hand in hand right now, right? And after that terrific start, Stroud has shown his rookie stripes, which you expect. Yep. I mean, I go Deontay, Drake, and then if Deontay doesn't play, I go Drake, and then I lean Nico, but I could change my mind to Downs by the time Saturday night, Sunday morning comes around. So stay in tune. Pay. Emil said, my whole freaking team is on bye this week. Shaking my head. That is always the worst. They give you that bye week in week 8, or that no bye week in week 8. So you have all your guys and you're feeling good. And then the next week they slap you. DM Fresh says, I have Jordan Addison and JJ. Should I trade them or see what the new QB can do? So I'm assuming this is a redraft. What are you doing with these 2 guys now that it looks like Josh Dobbs is probably going to be the long-term starter here? They also have Mullins coming back maybe soon. And then obviously Jaron Hall getting the start in week 9. We've got a jumbled mess of quarterback issues in Minnesota now that Kirk Cousins is out. And Kirk Cousins, sadly, I love the guy. He's fun as a Bears fan. He plays for the Vikings, but don't like seeing those injuries. And now what are they going to do? And are any of these quarterbacks going to be able to supply Jordan Addison and JJ on a weekly basis?
Well, I mean, JJ won't be back for a few more weeks though, right? Like I think he's got at least 2 or 3 weeks before we get him back. When I posted today's short about it, I feel optimistic. Dobbs is a veteran who, he gives you something different that Kirk doesn't give you. There's some rushing upside. I mean, we've seen him get you some yards and touchdowns on the ground this year. I think he's got like 100 and some yards rushing and a couple touchdowns. So they could do a little bit of stuff with him that you may not have seen with Kirk. Is Dobbs Kirk Cousins? No. Is Dobbs a weekly, probably high-end QB2? Potentially. I mean, look at those weapons that he's got. These are the best weapons Dobbs has ever had. You know, I mean, think about what he had in Arizona. He had Marquise Brown and then the ghost of Zach Ertz and a young Trey McBride. So it's like, I mean, so I feel good saying that Addison should be fine. He's probably going to see a little dip for the first few weeks, you know, but I would still expect him to get you probably, you know, 10 targets a week. You know, Hawkinson's probably up in the 5 to 10 targets a week. And as long as they're decent targets, you know, Dobbs is getting the ball remotely close, they're good receivers. So I'm comfortable saying these guys are all holds for the rest of the year, and they should still be fairly startable. But, you know, you got to not be so excited about them like you were with Kirk, because Dobbs is not Kirk.
Yeah, my fear is him being able to supply them both on a weekly basis. So I would probably trade JJ since he's going to be missing a couple more weeks, and we've got what we're going into week 9, so roughly 5 more weeks. And if JJ is going to miss 2-3 of those, yeah, he could help somebody when he gets back from the injury, getting into the playoffs. But I want to make my team better. And now we have hamstring concerns for JJ, and we have quarterback concerns for JJ. And if I'm not going to be able to use him for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try to see what I can get for him. If somebody's got an extra stud running back, try to figure something out. But I do have concerns about both of them being relevant when JJ gets back. And so for that reason, I would trade one. I wouldn't mind having them both if we knew Kirk was there.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob says 14 team 0.5 PPR, 5-3. Lamar, Hall, DeMercado, Amon-Ra, Waddle, Garrett Wilson, Goddard, and have Christian Watson on the bench. Trade Waddle and Bijan and Moss, JT and Moss, or neither. Can possibly offload Moss for a wide receiver too.
So he has JT and he has Bijan. Is that what we're seeing here?
No, he's wanting to know if he should trade Waddle for Bijan and Moss,
I see.
or JT and Moss, or neither. And then he said he can possibly offload Moss for a wide receiver too.
That's a tough one because Brees is truly your starter at running back, and you're probably starting at least 2 running backs. So I get that you are struggling with your RB2, but man, you've only got really 2 strong wide receivers. You know, you can play every week in Amon-Ra and Waddle. Wilson, you should be able to start every week, but you know, Zach Wilson's not Aaron Rodgers. That's a tough one. I don't think, with what we've seen kind of the up and down of Bijan here recently, I don't know that I'm jumping at trading for. I think I'd lean JT rest of season if I'm trading Waddle, but I would rather try to trade Garrett Wilson for JT if that guy would even do it.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the same thing. I would be curious to know if this is redraft or dynasty. I'm assuming redraft, but I agree. I would first offer. Well, I don't know, man. Aaron Rodgers, he might be back next week.
I mean, when you listen to him on, talking to Pat, I mean, he's not coming back before the playoffs.
I know that. I was being sarcastic.
I know, but I mean, Garrett Wilson should be relevant, but it's like, I mean, he's getting targets. They're not great targets.
I would try to trade Garrett Wilson for JT. I don't need Moss in the deal. Or Garrett Wilson for Bijan, for either of them. I would try to keep Amon-Ra and Waddle and upgrade that second running back spot. So I agree with Brad there. But I don't blame you if you do either of the trades that are on there. Because Garrett Wilson should fill in for Waddle pretty well. Not fully, but both of those running backs are huge upgrades over DeMercado, especially when James Conner gets back. So, I would start with the Garrett Wilson trade, as Brad said, and then if that doesn't get done and you really feel like you need to get better at that running back 2 spot, then I'm fine with either of those, but I do prefer JT over Bijan at this point, just because of that usage in Atlanta.
Yep.
Bardo, can I even trust starting Devontae anymore? I have Nico Collins and Drake London on the bench. I mean, I'm the type that's going to die with Devontae Adams week in and week out because we know that even with a bad quarterback on any given week, he could score you 40 points. So I'm going to live and die with him. I mean, look how close they were last night. There were 2 long
If he wasn't
bombs.
sailing, though, if he wasn't sailing those.
Yeah, so it's so close. And as long as Jimmy's healthy, he's going to get a lot of targets. Now, Jimmy's not normally that bad. That was pretty bad. How open he was and how bad he missed on those. But I don't blame anybody for sitting him though. But I'm not that guy. I'll die with him in my lineup and be sad.
Well, I mean, he's getting, the last 4 weeks have been rough for Devontae Adams owners, right? Like he's only had one playable week, and even that wasn't a Devontae Adams type week. But Jimmy's been fighting the back injury. He's been hurt. They've been dealing with, O'Connell, and up and down. But this year he's had a week where he had, what was it, 40 some points. It's, like you said, he is a true boom bust right now, but you have to. You drafted where you drafted him and his skill set. It's not like Nico has been doing anything amazing the last month either. He's been better, sure, but CJ Stroud is hitting that, like you said, that rookie slump. So it's one of those things where I would you keep riding your studs, because we always tell you, start the studs. He's healthy. Jimmy's just sailing balls right now. That won't be like that forever.
I might say, like if you had somebody else here that I felt had a pretty solid floor, but with the way the quarterback plays in Atlanta, we've seen Drake London struggle and people not knowing if they want to play him, and you're even considering it here, whereas when you drafted it, you thought Drake was going to be a good starter, right? So we're seeing the floor with these guys, but neither of these guys are as likely as scoring 35 or 40 points for you as Devontae. So I can't take him out to put that in. If you were talking somebody like Devonta Smith or, obviously Puka's probably already in your lineup already, but those guys have huge upsides that I can deal with whatever deficiencies they have. I just don't know that Nico and London in their current situations are doing that often enough to start over Devontae at this point. Pierre says, sup guys, PPR 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex. Hurts, Fields, Murray. Okay, you have too many quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league. Eckler, Hubbard, Endo, Spears, Amon-Ra, CD, Devonta Smith, Garrett Wilson, Jacoby Myers, JSN, Dotson, Goddard, McBride, Connor on IR. Are we making some trades or are we holding here?
You don't have to make trades, right? Like you've got a stud in Eckler, and then Connor will be back soon. And then you've got Hubbard, who for some reason Carolina's playing over Sanders more. So I'm really not in a hurry because you're strong. I would trade one of your quarterbacks. Murray, if Murray plays well this week, I flip him next week, right? Because
Murray's not starting this week, is he? I think they said
they just traded their starter. Who's going to start?
Well, I think they said they were going to play Clayton Tune or Josh Dobbs earlier, like on Monday, and then obviously they traded Dobbs. So I think Clayton Tune's preparing to be the starter.
Yeah, I'm about to say right now, all I'm seeing is they're still deciding. I don't see a firm, but
Okay. You know how these reporters are. They report, so I may have seen it and then they backtracked on it because.
Well, they're saying the expectation is that Clayton Tune will start.
Okay.
So,
but either way, Murray should be only a week or 2 away from coming back to the Cardinals.
Right.
My issue here is that you've got 3 quarterbacks that, when all healthy, you're going to be beating your head against the wall weekly, going, which one's going to score the most points? So I personally would take 2 of these quarterbacks and try to pair them with other pieces to upgrade those pieces and then stream the last, quarterback if you have a bye week ahead of you. I don't know if any of these, I know the Bears haven't been on bye. I don't know about Philly and
I don't think Philly has
Arizona.
either. I don't think any of them have.
None of them may have. So you may have to stream a guy for that week, but I would pick one and ride with him and try to upgrade the other positions. If you can.
It's almost like you say, you ask the owner, which one do they like more, Fields or Murray, or do they want them both? And then which running back, and then upgrade a running back. I mean, your wide receivers are studs. I mean, Amon-Ra, CD, and Devonta are weekly starters. Garrett Wilson's weekly starter. Jacoby could be a weekly starter. JSN is becoming a weekly starter. It's like, you don't need to upgrade your wide receiver. So if you want to upgrade your running back, sure. I mean, your tight ends are fine as well.
You can always still upgrade, though. They're fine.
Well,
but
yeah. But I mean, running back looks to be the one where it's like, okay, I could see where you'd want to try to upgrade that.
Oh, I would definitely want to. So that's what I would personally do. I just think you have 3 quarterbacks there. You don't need any more than 2 anyway in a 1 QB, and you've got 3 really high level fantasy players at quarterback, and I would be fine with any of the 3 rest of season. Well, obviously you're probably holding Hurts if we're being honest, and then trying to trade Fields and Murray. But I would be fine with any of the 3 for rest of season.
Yep.
Thanks for answering my question. Left a like and subbed. We appreciate you, Jacob. Come back. We're always here to answer. And look at this guy.
Oh,
look at this face. One of my favorite faces. Taylor, I hope you're doing really well. And thanks for stopping by tonight. And then Pierre says, I got Murray on IR. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just, in regards to that, that's just what I'm always looking to upgrade if I can, but I don't want to do anything that's like a lateral move that could really mess up my team. So I want to make sure that I'm getting a guy that I'm really super confident in. I mean, you don't know whose team's in what situation and what's really available from our end when you ask that question, but you might be able to get another super stud wide receiver to go with Amon-Ra, or you might be able to get a couple of really good second and third running backs to go with your team there. Good to see you.
It's always good to be seen. But yeah, I mean, in 1 QB, you really don't need more than 1. And Hurts is going to be your guy all year. Like, there's no reason to keep the other 2 if you can find a trade partner. And, and I'm always one that's down for trying to make some trades happen, especially with names like Fields and Murray. I mean, those are hot names in fantasy, or at least they were. I mean, obviously injuries right now are slowing it down for them, but dump them. Just trade them off.
Guys, need some help at tight end, and he's yelling at us. I guess that's what the caps in his name means, right? All caps, baby. All caps all the time. Guys, need some help at tight end. I see McBride, but if he's out, go with Hill, Musgrave, or Otten.
I mean,
I think you got to go with Hill right now, right? They're using him in so many different ways, throwing passes, running the ball, catching the ball. I just think he's got a higher ceiling than Musgrave or Otten, so I'm going to go with Hill because all tight ends have, well, not all, 95% of tight ends have a 0 floor, so.
It's such a weird thing with Taysom too, right? Like the first month and a half of the season, I mean, he was just not doing anything and driving people crazy. But like the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's been, like a tight end 1 or something. It's like a high end tight end 1. So yeah, I mean, I think you roll with him because he's the ceiling play. And now that we're getting closer to playoffs, I tend to be a little bit more risky because I want to make sure I keep winning or get the win. So I would agree with you. Hill's probably the best option because Musgrave is getting targets, but they're not consistent and they're not good targets. And Otten is all up and down as well. So why not go with the ceiling play?
Yeah, only one of these guys is getting goal line carries, right? I mean,
true.
But to your point about him starting slow, we're also talking about a new staff that doesn't know how to use him, right? And
Alvin Kamara wasn't there, right?
And Alvin Kamara wasn't there, and new quarterback. Facts. That must be about the caps.
Yeah.
Would you trade Njoku for Pitts, tight end premium, full PPR, and go Bears? Oh, Andrew, we're best friends. Make sure you like, subscribe. I'm missing some stuff back here, but there's a bunch of Justin Fields stuff that goes in here. Couple Fields autographs here. We'll be best friends. Cue the Step Brothers meme.
Do we just become best friends? Yep.
Best friends. Yep. Are you trading Njoku for Pitts? I am.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Njoku has big games, but it looks like Pitts might finally be coming into his own a little bit.
I want to see Pitts with Heineke here for the rest of the season. That's what my hope is. We always seen
a sad state of affairs.
Logan Thomas. Well, Logan Thomas was always pretty solid with Heineke, right? He used the tight end pretty well when Logan Thomas was healthy. Now Logan Thomas wasn't healthy a ton, so we didn't see it a ton. But the upside's just clearly better, I think, with him. And Njoku showed us for even longer with almost as much hype when he came into the league that he's not consistent. So don't feel great with either of them. I'm going to go with Pitts, though.
Yep.
I do still have Waller, but don't trust. I mean, when he's on the field, it's good. Again, here's the key, right? His availability is really important, but I'm 5'3" with Allen, Diggs, Devontae, Swift, Pacheco, Gibbs. What should I do to prepare for the playoffs? I'm always barely winning, even though I have a great team.
Allen, Diggs, is it a trade Devontae moment Gibbs now?
Well, no, because you're not going to get anything. What is somebody going to give you for Devontae right now that you feel comfortable putting in your lineup? I don't think anything. I'd rather take his upside. It's going to be like the Nico Collins of the world, right? That we just said we'd start Devontae over. So, I mean, I just don't think there's enough value there to trade him. We can't trust Swift because now the Eagles are acting weird, like the Lions.
They're so all over the place, though. It doesn't make any sense to me. Swift was so baller for a little bit there, and it's like, why'd you stop?
Well, yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, I'm probably normally rolling Gibbs and Pacheco here, even though Pacheco hasn't been real.
I mean, Swift gives you more upside of the two. Yeah, I mean, the last 2 weeks, Swift has really been kind of low double digits after having some really strong weeks. Pacheco, I think Pacheco's been kind of about the same. Yeah, Pacheco's been worse, but I mean, it almost feels like you just kind of play the matchups with those two. Like Gibbs is your one, and then you matchup based played one of the other two.
That's the scary part too. What's Dan Campbell doing when David Montgomery gets back? So yeah, our 30 point Gibbs might be back to 14-point Gibbs.
True, but so at what
he's
point
still going to be startable, but I just don't think he has the upside when Montgomery's back that we've seen, especially this week.
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to think of what can Bardo do here, and it's like, I mean, short of trying to make a bunch of trades, I think you just kind of have to ride it out. Like maybe you get lucky, you play the waiver wire, or you can you can try to do some trades or whatever. But it's like, I mean, this is a strong team. Like when these players are all on, this team should be unstoppable. So I almost say stand pat and just play the matchups, play your best players, and hope that you don't get a Devontae from last night type game in the playoffs.
Well, it's real tough because obviously we're also only seeing 6 of the players. So like, what else are you working with?
This is best for our Discord where you post your league for us.
Is that Keenan Allen or Josh Allen? Those are some other questions I've got. All in One Show wants to know what's a good D pickup. I have not even looked at my weekly rankings yet. Those will come out tomorrow. I don't even know matchups. Like what good matchups we got this week, Brad? You know of any?
All right, so let's see here. I'm gonna look at the matchups
I know
right
the
now.
49ers are on bye.
Yeah, so we've got Tennessee versus Pittsburgh Thursday night. Miami, KC, Minnesota
Saints,
at
if they're not owned, they play the Bears.
Saints versus Bears. I mean, with Minnesota starting whoever, I
Jaron
mean,
Hall. They're starting Jaron Hall this week.
So Atlanta's defense could be a good pickup.
Yep.
That's one that I would think about. Cleveland has Arizona, Green Bay and the Rams, Tampa Bay and Houston, Washington
Rams
and New
defense.
England. Yeah. Washington and New England, although don't pick up Washington's defense anymore because they have no edge rushers. Indy versus Carolina. Indy's defense would be a good pickup because Carolina likes to turn the ball over with right now. You got Giants versus the
actually,
Raiders.
Carolina's defense wouldn't be too bad to play this week either because Minshew will turn it over too.
Yep, either or. We got Giants, Raiders, Cowboys, Eagles, Bills, Bengals, and Chargers, Jets. So I think those
Jets are Chargers defense against the Jets. Is it bad that Raiders game, like both offenses you would like to attack with defenses, but both defenses you would absolutely love to attack with offense?
I know. Yeah, that's one of those things where like Max Crosby should get you a few quality sacks, but outside of that, it's like, are they going to get a turnover? I mean, like it's so hard to trust that. And then the Giants just trading Leonard Williams, it's like, okay, that's not going to do you any good, because now
right. Losing Leonard Williams isn't going to do anybody any good.
Right. So it's, it's one of those things where like, all right, well, no. So I think, those defenses that we've already touched on, I think would be the ones. I mean, I'm going ceiling plays. I would grab, Atlanta's defense and let them just, go to town on Minnesota because, Jaron Hall is a rookie, an old rookie. And that's,
yeah, I think what I would do is when you look at the open defenses in your league, look at who's facing a young quarterback, rookie quarterback, and can put a little pressure on. And if you can find a defense on your waiver wire that can do that, I think they're worth a toss because we have the quarterback landscape this week is probably going to be advantageous for defense.
That's gonna be crazy.
There was five guys in the early games that left. There was 18 starting quarterbacks and 5 of them left the game. That's crazy. This week may be the worst quarterback play we've seen in a week of football
ever.
Yeah, at least that I remember. Okay, it's not caps though, man.
Whoa, Daniel, what are we doing here?
Flipped it on us.
He's not yelling at us.
Okay, fellas, one more, please. Need 2: Addison, Downs, Lockett, and Deontay Johnson. So I'm going to Addison, Deontay if Deontay's healthy. If not, it's Lockett for me.
Yeah, Deontay for sure. Obviously, keep an eye on the injury report. With them starting Jaron Hall, I'm not going to play Addison. Yeah,
I might go Deontay, Lockett, Addison.
Yeah,
I still have Addison ahead of Downs though.
With it being full PPR, I'm probably leaning Deontay Lockett or Deontay Downs. Those would be, but not touching a Minnesota player this week, except for the running backs. They'll probably lean on the running backs for this kid.
Still, do you feel comfortable putting in one of those running backs?
I mean, if you're hurting in a lot of bye weeks, because think about it. I mean, a lot of running backs you'd be playing around bye week this week. Javonte Williams is on bye week. I can't think of the other buys. Oh, Gibbs, so it's like you've got a few, and I'm sure there's others off the top of my head I can't remember. But
Pardo says nothing. I don't remember what that was to. And then Daniel says, how did you get Allen Diggs and Adams? Good question. Drafted Devontae and Allen early and traded for Diggs a couple weeks back.
You got real lucky on that one.
And Bardo and Daniel says, sweet, brah. Josh Allen it was. Guys, since Bourne is out for the season, does Hunter Henry value skyrocket? I think it does.
Why do you think that?
Because he's the second most comfortable receiving option for Mac Jones and has history with them. I mean, I wouldn't say skyrockets because I don't really like any of their offensive players anyway, but I think Hunter Henry's value definitely goes up with Bourne out. Bourne had been their TD threat. Not a lot of them, but They're not scoring other TDs through the air.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it almost feels like it's gonna be one of those things where, Bourne obviously was getting, anywhere from 4 to 10 targets a week. I mean, they're probably going to sprinkle that around. You'll see Jalen Reagor get involved a little more, which is terrifying. Demario Douglas is a guy that I would consider targeting for depth, just because it seems like they're targeting him more and more. But no, I don't trust anybody in New England. Like I'm not playing any of them except for Stevenson.
I'll play Hunter Henry at tight end because tight end, all of them but like 5 suck. Brad knows how to pick up the best D.
I have been told I have the best.
Raiders versus New York Giants. The mess of the league. Jeez.
We got to insert that GIF where each guy punches each other out and they fall over.
Taylor says, also love the Cincinnati Reds hat, Rick.
Man, he's coming in hot. He's trying to start some beef in the streets.
Your Reds and my Bears are both toilet bowls. That's what we figured out here in this conversation. Our teams suck, Taylor. Dang it. And it's funny because mine's opposite. My baseball team's getting pretty good, and his football team, they're really good too.
That's fair.
So we're just switched. Wish people in my league would trade for depth. To be honest, most people just wish the people in their league traded.
I'm about to say, I trade for depth, especially this time of year. I'm built like as soon as DPJ trade went through, I went and sent an offer in a dynasty of like a 4th and a 5th. Guy accepted. I was like, I'm perfectly fine targeting depth and hoping that it pans out.
I'm not worried about D Johnson health. I'm more worried about he plays on Thursday nights. Well, his health is my worry for him playing well on Thursday.
I mean, it looks like Pickett's going to be in there, and even if he isn't, Pickett and Trubisky both target him. So as long as he's playing, I'm comfortable with him. I mean, he's in my lineups.
And I did say Pickett's playing, right? I'm pretty sure they said he was in.
Yep.
And then again, I have not seen. The only thing I've seen is Brad being a jerk and making sure to post funny face pictures of me on the tweet box where all the mean people are. me and Craig had that conversation earlier.
Yeah, I saw Craig's most recent tweet. I'm like, oh, somebody's getting spicy.
He gets fired up. I love it.
Yeah,
I love that guy. That's when he shows his excitement, is when he's like, when people are doing that stuff and then he puts out his post. That's like him letting out his excitement stuff. Thursday night curse for me. Yeah, man, I hate playing guys in the Thursday night game.
Yeah, Thursday night's tough, but you start your studs and you start the guys that should produce, and if they don't, I mean, that sucks, but it is what it is. I have Deontay in all my lineups right now. Like anywhere where I have him, he's still in there, and I don't plan on taking him out unless I'm trading him, which I have been doing this week. I've been trading Deontay a lot, it feels like.
I haven't been doing a lot of nothing this week so far. I haven't even taken the trash down yet, and it needs to go out tonight. I just remembered.
And so you don't want to forget the trash.
I forgot it was Tuesday. Yesterday was like a ruined day for me, so it kind of felt like a Sunday. So today felt like Monday.
Oh, somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Don't go to court. I caught a case yesterday.
Well, but hopefully it's done now.
Well, it's done. I just have to wait 90 days to get the verdict back.
Yeah,
up to 90 days, I should say.
What
sucks is because of bye and injury, I get to choose from Hendo, Ford, Moss, Sharbs, or Foreman. Okay.
Ford.
The Bears, with all 3 of these guys healthy, I just throw them all to the side.
Yep.
I love Roshan so much. I don't know if my dude Andrew's still here, but I've been showing off my Roshan 1 of 1 black, and the other stack of my rainbow. But it was so frustrating watching that the other night. And then Darrington Evans ends up being the most productive running back out of the three. Darrington Evans came up in 0 questions and 6.5 hours of streaming question and
Saturday to
answers
Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, and then ends up being the leading rusher or leading fantasy running back for the Bears.
I mean, we liked Evans 3-4 years ago when he came out, but then did nothing with Tennessee, and now it's like, wait a minute.
I still like him because he supports creators like us and sticks up for creators like us. But I did not expect him to lead that backfield in fantasy points.
No, not a chance.
Oh, so
I picked Ford. I mean, Ford would be the one I would go with.
Yep, me too. Thoughts on Saints D this week? Yep.
Fire him up. I mean, I'm guessing that's probably a top 10 D this week.
Just in case nobody noticed, on Sunday Night Football, Tyson Bagent isn't the Bears' savior that everybody thought he was after they beat the Raiders.
Wait a minute. You mean beating the Raiders doesn't make you a Hall of Famer?
Dude, bro, you have no idea how many messages in Bears groups that I responded to or I said something to and then said nope and deleted it. Just like this guy is not the guy. Komet or Njoku. If I play Njoku, I'd be starting 2 Browns with him and Cooper. I'm going Komet. Obviously, last week the first game with Bagent wasn't very good, but they got that's the guy he was connecting with the best this past game. Obviously, 10 receptions. So I'm going Komet.
Yeah, I would lean Komet. I mean, Njoku, if Watson's playing, I'd feel a little better about Njoku, but we don't know that he is anytime soon. So just lean Komet. And it's kind of a Devonta Adams situation, right? Like you kind of live and die by the guy that you trust as your starter. And Komet is that guy. Like when you drafted Komet, you drafted him to be a starter, I'm sure. So go with your studs. And Komet is a stud when he's in.
Our legendary Craig Reith heard me talking about him, decided to come in and ask a question that I cannot answer. So, Brad, who is Michael? Oh, I don't even know who this guy is.
Well, he plays for the Rams, and he's kind of a edge rusher, LBDL guy. I mean, he had one really studly game where he got you just a ton of points. Then he's had a couple. I think he's had like 2 or 3 other games where he's double-digit pointed. I mean, the Rams needed somebody, right? And he just happens to be 26 years old. I think he's been in the league for 3 or 4 years. And, I mean, he's definitely playable right now. But, Ernest Jones has been banged up. So it's like, is some of it because some of the other backers are been dinged up? I mean, you can keep playing him the rest of this year because that defense is going to be on the field a bit. But I'm not leaning into him being much more than a thing this year in IDP.
And that's what I'm going with. This one I can actually help with. Football says, bros, Devonta Smith or Flowers this week.
Bro. I mean, I kind of want to say Flowers. But I like Devonta Smith more.
Flowers just isn't getting the TDs.
I mean, Devonta, I guess he did get 2 in the first 2 weeks and then 1 this week. Yeah, I mean, either.
What does they have? 1 on the? Yeah, he has 1 on the year, and he's getting a bunch of targets and catches.
Yeah, if this is PPR, give me Zay Flowers. If it's standard, I'd go Devonta.
So, I mean, is Zay Flowers really getting that many more targets though?
I mean, they're not that dissimilar, right? Like it's more consistent. So Zay Flowers is over the last month is at 7, 6, 8, 11. Devonta's at 7, 5, 11, 5. So they're not really that much different.
But how many fantasy points are they getting?
I mean, Devonta had 1 week 5, 9, 8, 22 this last week.
So
then
let's see in PPR. I'm gonna look over the last 3 weeks where these guys are at. So we got Devonta.
I mean, Zay Flowers is going to be more this week, Devonta had a big game.
Devonta averaging 13.7 and Flowers 11.8.
But it's going to be skewed because Devonta had 2 games in the last 3 weeks under 10 fantasy points, and then this week he had.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Flowers really only had one good starting game, right? He had 11.5, which is okay.
Right. So I guess it's just it's a tough one. I mean, it's
I'm going Smith. Ceilings there. If Mark Andrews wasn't there, we'd see more touchdowns out of Flowers. Mark Andrews just eats up all the tutties, man. And then obviously Gus Edwards
right.
is eating up all the tutties right now. So I gotta go Smith here because his ceiling's just bigger, right? Like he could be the 3 touchdown guy for the Eagles, the way that offense works. Obviously it's been nothing but AJB for what is that, 6 straight weeks with 125 plus yards. What a
ridiculous.
But that also means Devonta Smith ain't getting the double coverage.
Oh, that's very true. I mean, and going against Dallas, that's a solid matchup, but he should be able to get you a nice game. So I'd be okay with it. I mean, I'm really okay starting either, but I understand the idea. Smith is a ceiling and probably just very similar floor to Flowers. So why not go with the guy who gets you a higher ceiling? So makes sense.
It could definitely go either way. Let's just be clear about that, though. Falcons, Raiders, Patriots, or Commanders defense. We talk Sea-Dog. I think the Falcons or Raiders are the top 2 here. I mean, not the Raiders.
Commanders defense don't touch anymore. Don't touch the Commanders anymore.
I'm going Falcons here is what I'm doing.
Yep.
I'm Falcons Raiders. As well. I was thinking Saints because I was going to say they're playing the Bears.
It's because they're facing the Giants. So, both these teams suck right now.
You want to, but yeah, that's tough to trust the Raiders defense even against the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, hiccups. And for my last question, Laporta is my starting tight end. Kmet is my backup. Just didn't know if Njoku would be a better play. Nope. I mean,
sir.
I don't think I'm not going to sit here and act like Kmet's far off, but I would prefer him over Njoku.
100%.
And then you're good rest of the season. So you guys are on bye this week?
Yes, we are. Yep. Okay. Yep.
I haven't even, like I said, I haven't even looked and been able to rank my stuff for this
San Francisco, Detroit, San Francisco.
I knew San Fran because my buddy.
San Francisco, Detroit, Jacksonville, and Denver are all on bye. So this is a big week. A lot of good fantasy players are on bye this week.
My buddy texted me, "Oh yeah, so giving up second rounders for Montez Sweat, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, obviously didn't learn our lesson." And while we were talking, he's a 49ers fan, and he's like, we just got Chase Young for a late third.
Like, for a song and dance, right? That's crazy.
Cool.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy how that works, but that's the way the league is.
Well, here's the thing, right? To get the Bears driven up to a second, there was probably other teams that were willing to pay, like winning teams that were willing to pay seconds.
And
that weren't willing to pay for Chase Young.
Right. No, I mean, I get that. And even I was having those conversations with, Lions buddies. I mean, because, as 4:00 hit, I got multiple phone calls from friends. And like, what are we doing? Why aren't we giving a second or a third for either of these two? And I'm like, and the struggle with it is, you could spend the pick on a player that is good on his team, but does it really fit your team? Like Montez Sweat with how Chicago runs. I think Montez Sweat is going to step right in and really add good value. He's great against the run, and he gives you sack upside. Like can he be double teams? Because that's what's going to happen now. They don't have 4 first-round defensive linemen now in Chicago like he had in Washington. So it's like, okay.
He got double-teamed a lot in Washington.
He did get double-teamed a lot, but there's a lot of talent.
Especially since Chase was out. See, this is the argument that I don't know. I don't know which side's better, right? Would his sack numbers be better if he didn't have other monsters on his team on that line?
Maybe.
So that's the hard part for me is that, he does have help, but he's also a first rounder, just like those guys. So he's probably helping them just as much as they're helping him. But I get what you're saying. But here's my argument for the Lions. Like, if you don't think right now is the time to strike, that just doesn't feel like Dan Campbell to me. And we have seen over the last few weeks how there is no team that is not beatable. We just saw the Denver Broncos, who gave up 70 points to Miami, beat the Chiefs, and not only beat the Chiefs, but make Patrick Mahomes look bad for a night. We saw 49ers lose 3 games in a row when we thought they were untouchable just 4 weeks ago. So I feel like if the Lions, if right now you don't feel like you compete with those guys, especially with your offense, then that would be concerning. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to give up more draft capital than somebody else that does feel higher about them. But I did see your post about us not feeling like we're ready. Like, I feel like the Lions are in it just about as much as anybody else.
Well, I think their offense is in it and ready, but I still think, the defense is so young. I mean, they're trying to trust so many first and second year players. It's like, I don't, if you thought one veteran edge rusher would put you over the top, then do it every day. Like, I'm all for it. I just don't think they think that. And, because I've watched the way these two have tried to build this team. They tried to build it through free agency and the draft, and they will make trades, but it just doesn't seem like something they're doing, at the trade deadline, targeting these types of players. So people were freaking out, and I was just trying to be the voice of reason. Like, that didn't make sense to me. When they went and got DPJ, that made sense to me. I'm like, yeah, I mean, they didn't spend a lot.
Why does that make sense, but getting an edge rusher for you guys wouldn't? That's what I'm confused about.
Well, because of the way that they've tried to build through early round talent in the draft and kind of bringing in their chosen guys where, Chase Young and Montez Sweat are studs. I'm not going to argue that in the least, but do they fit what these guys want to do? I mean, because they clearly have a type of guy. Like, they want these like crazy football nuts, these guys that are just, the whole grit thing. And, and I don't know that either of those two players fit in with what Detroit wants to do. And so when people kept saying it, I was like, I think Brian Burns fits with what they're trying to do. That's why I was like, if you don't go pay Brian Burns whatever he needs to get him, like, that would have been the one where if Brian Burns got traded today and it was for a second, like, I'd have been flipping the table and,
you ain't getting Burns for a second. That's different level, bro.
Well, I know, but I'm saying level. Like, if Burns gets moved and it's something that you could have afforded, it's like, but Chase Young and Montez Sweat, I'm like, all right, well, maybe they just don't fit what we're doing. I don't know. I mean,
that could be the case, but I just the part I didn't agree with was that you guys weren't in it. I think you guys are in it now. I think that obviously not the favorite,
these other teams,
but get into the playoff. I mean, look at baseball this year, baby. Get into the playoffs and then see what happens.
I still think it's Philadelphia.
Sorry. I don't know why we just rambled about the Lions. Last one in the tank, fellas. Worth a play in my flex, or should I go find someone else? Tank Dell. Tank Dell. Worth a play in my flex on by. Yeah, I think he's fine. I mean, I think Stroud's gonna, bounce back and improve. I'd play Tank Dell in the flex.
I mean, we kept expecting Tank Dell to have a breakout this week after week 2 where he had 7 for 72 and a touchdown. But he's really, I mean, you're getting 3 or 4 targets a week, and he's catching most of them, but he's not getting you a lot. So it's like, when are they going to start bouncing back? I don't know. I mean, I would start him in the flex because that he has touchdown upside. He can get you 10 targets, 7 catches, 72 and a touchdown, but your guess is as good as mine if it's going to be this week. Tampa's defense is good. I mean, it's a solid defense. So I would be looking elsewhere if I could, but Tank Dell is a good receiver. I like him.
Pierre says, question, do you think Montez Sweat plays right away for Bears? My league is IDP.
I mean, he might be on a snap count, but he's got to be in there, right?
I don't know. One way that I would look at it is, like right now they have 9 games of Montez Sweat, so they probably want to get him in there. The other side of it is they didn't make this trade thinking of just this year. Like, their goal is to bring him in and sign him to a long-term deal. That's the only reason why a 2-6 team should be trading a second-round pick. So I would assume he's probably in there. But I don't know. Just depends on how quick he gets ready. And Jaws, what's up?
It's good to see you, buddy.
Seem like one upmanship. The 49ers getting Chase Young for a third after Seattle paid a second and fifth for Leonard Williams. That's true.
I mean, I would rather Chase Young over Leonard Williams, but Leonard Williams is more consistent and normally more healthy, but also older. And, it's like what you need. But Seattle needed that interior defensive lineman help. Like Leonard Williams is a huge gift for them.
Brad, how many sacks does Chase Young have in his career? Do not Google it. I want you to tell me.
Probably 10 or less.
No, it's not that bad, but it's 14.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't that far off.
Well, no, but I mean, you said 10 or less. I mean, that 4 sacks is quite a bit. I mean, it's not like a regular 14 versus 10, right? Like there's a weight value to sacks. But I mean, you're talking about a guy that's been in the league for 4 years, was the number 2 pick, and between missing games and then productivity, he's only got 14 sacks. So he's probably not going to cost as much as you would think on name value, right? That's what that's what we're all thinking. It's like,
in
oh my
fantasy,
God, Chase Young, he was a second overall pick. How's he going for a third rounder? Well, he hasn't really produced in the NFL in 4 years. So, I mean, what are you paying for?
Man, with a healthy Chase Young across from Nick Bosa, that just sounds disgusting.
I mean, that's gross. But, I mean, again, he was across from Montez Sweat, too.
Right.
I mean, Montez Sweat is not Bosa. Let's not get it twisted, right? Let's not get it twisted.
Montez Sweat's probably a tier below him, but
he was playing on that line that you just was talking about, potentially making Sweat better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chase had the same luxury.
Yep, same way.
Actually, when Chase was in, he had a better luxury because he had 3 guys. Whereas for most of the time, Montez Sweat only had the 2 defensive tackles.
Right.
Oh, I forgot. Since you guys choose Smith, if you had to choose 2 more, which would they be? Out of the following: Puka, Olave, Flowers. By the way, Devonta Smith plays Dallas.
I'd have them in that order. It'd be Puka and Olave for me.
Puka, Olave, and then Smith is who I would go with. Flowers would be the one I say here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Even though we are going to have to see on Puka too, right? Is his quarterback going to play or what?
That's a good. I didn't think about Stafford. Let's check on his situation.
So C-Dog says that one with Tank Dell. His other options are Chuba Hubbard, Boyd, and Jaden Reed.
I'd play Chuba.
I could get behind Chuba. We thought Miles Sanders was going to come back and get his workload, and then he had 2 touches.
I'm about to say, they said no, you can sit.
Yep. So
UCL sprain. So they say day to day on Stafford with a UCL sprain, which that's in the thumb. His right thumb and is considered.
Is that the alveolar collateral ligament?
What are you, a doctor?
We're gonna find out.
How'd you know? I'm about to say, how'd you know that? That sounds like it.
I don't know if I said it right.
Well, I mean, it certainly sounded right.
The UCL is the ulnar collateral ligament. Look at that. Dr. Rick in the house. If you have any questions, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. And now I can answer all of your medical questions.
Yeah, because otherwise it's Brett Rippin. And it's not Mark Rippin. Definitely not Mark. Now, if it was Mark Ripien, I'd be safe and I'd feel good about Puka.
So that's my question. If we go back to this one real quick, if it is Brett Rippin,
I'd go Flowers.
Would you go Flowers over him?
Yeah, I think so.
I could get behind that. And
again,
then Hubbard.
This is why you come back Saturday night and Sunday morning when we've got more information, right?
And these guys, Sea-Dogs around, Footballs around. These guys know to come back. These are the regulars. Yeah. They'll be back Saturday or Sunday for sure, and we'll have more information. I'll have my rankings put together. Been a heck of a start to my week here, so I'm catching up. So do you play Chuba ahead of Henderson? I think they're I think they're like even, to be honest with you. If I had Chuba and Henderson both in 4 different leagues, I'm probably starting each of them in 2 of them.
Yeah, it really depends on my lineup, right? Like if I'm dealing with a bunch of bye weeks, I'm probably going for the safer play, which is probably Henderson, because if either way, whether it's Stafford starting or them starting Rippon, they're going to lean on Henderson. Like he's going to get a little bit more work.
Royce Freeman
he got their touchdown this week, right?
Yeah, Royce Freeman was like right with them in touches, I think, at one point at least, and then Sunday happened, and I don't remember.
Let's look up the matchup. So
which one are you looking at?
Oh, Chuba's got the Colts. I would start Chuba no matter what. Chuba against the Colts should be a decent matchup.
Who did we say Henderson had?
They've got Green Bay, which has a pretty good run defense.
Really?
I think so.
I thought they were bad versus the run.
Let me take a look. Let me pull up PFF and take a peek. See.
I think these guys are really even, to be completely honest with you.
I mean, I mean, they're both in the same tier of could go off or could go home, right?
Right. There's no guarantees with either. But like Henderson, 12 carries, 31 yards. Did have 3 receptions for 54. So he had 15 touches.
This is such a hard one because when you look at the grades, Green Bay's ranked 14th against the run. Colts are ranked 16th. So it's like this is like what was that conversation the other night where guys were in your rankings like right next to each other? Like
all the time. They happen to pick out the guys right next to each other.
So
so let's see. Royce Freeman, I guess he only had 9 attempts. So Henderson is getting a little bit more work than what did Chuba look at Chuba?
Yeah, Chuba over the last 2 weeks has had 31 or 34 carries. I mean, he had 15.
So it's about the same as Henderson.
So it's, they're right on top of each other.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So I would lean Chuba against Indy, I think, as opposed to Henderson, mostly because for some reason Miles Sanders isn't getting any work. Where in LA they've got a couple guys that are sharing the touches.
But and both of them not very good. 15 for 28 yards, and then
9 for 44 and a touchdown.
Catching. Henderson's catching more passes.
Yeah, over the last 2 weeks, he's had four balls for 59 yards. So, and then 92 rushing and a touchdown. So, I mean,
I guess I lean Chuba slightly, but they're close.
You can make the case for either.
No,
probably not.
No.
I mean, if this is a week later and Roshan's still fighting with Darrington Evans and 78 other running backs, maybe if you're in need, but Roshan's the better running back.
Yeah. Yep, that's where I'm at with it, and sad. So if you don't want to take my opinion on Roshan, that's 100% fair. I will not lie. I am biased. Strange question. Where are you guys from? I'm from Mexico City. Brad, where are you from?
We are in Indiana, and I'm from Fort Wayne, although originally from the Metro Detroit area. Go Lions.
Lions suck. I'm from Wawaka, Indiana. You'll never know where that's at.
Waka Waka.
We don't even have a stoplight here in little old Wawaka. All right, Brad. That looks like all of our questions for tonight. For everybody that tuned in, we really appreciate you guys. As always, we will be back Saturday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, answering questions. Last week, we went to almost 1 o'clock. Then turn right around and do it again Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, getting you ready all the way up until normally noon is when we kind of die off and get shipped out. But, 3, 4, 7 hours over the weekend, we will be here answering your questions. We'll see you then.
Have a good one, folks.